Thanks for joining us. Meteorologist Nicole Karkic with you. Thousands left without power in Ontario. About 500,000 customers in the dark last night. The cold streak comes to an end, and details of the spring outlook through the program. We released it yesterday. You can find more details online and TV right now. Let's take you across the country, where today we have cooler air moving into Ontario, and across the prairies you are dry, and it's a much cooler day for southern Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Light snow still in the Maritime provinces for the morning, and Newfoundland. There is a winter storm watch in place for you for Burgeo over towards the southern Avalon for some strong winds, and 10 to 15 centimeters will fall through today. And the northern Avalon Peninsula does have an extreme cold warning, so feeling like minus 35 to start the day. Also extreme cold in the southern prairies, Saskatoon and Regina both included in that, as well as Brandon. So minus 40s for this morning. There. Please send us your videos to our website, theweathernetwork.com. More snow on the way for the Maritimes. Halifax clearing out for you during the morning commute, but an additional 2 to 5. A little bit more for Cape Breton Island with 5 to 10 centimeters on the way. And Newfoundland just getting a bit more. And with those watches in place, the winds will be strong across the island with gusts up to 60 to 70 kilometers an hour at times. For the morning, Halifax is 2 degrees, so possibly some mixing. Montreal around the freezing mark for you, but temperatures falling through the day. St. John's minus 10 this morning, and St. Anthony is minus 20. By the afternoon, Halifax climbs up to 4 degrees. So we're going to see some sunshine. Not a bad day, fairly much. 15,000 customers right now are still in the dark, but they're working on restoring all the people who don't have any power at this point. Tuesday, it was just 4 hours of freezing rain that caused all the problems. This morning I had to chip away at my car, so you might have to do the same. Hamilton 5 hours, and Windsor you saw 6 centimeters of snow. Thanks for joining us. We've got our cloud tops to show you where the active weather is, and a bit of cloud cover and across the prairies, but mainly your story is cold. Saskatchewan has Saskatoon and Regina in an extreme cold warning. The active weather just skirting past Ontario now. The freezing rain has ended, but we still have some snow in Quebec City for the morning commute. Snow in parts of the Maritime provinces, and for Newfoundland, it is another active weather day for you. Won't be as windy as yesterday, but take a look at these gusts. Pretty impressive. St. John's, Newfoundland, 110 kilometer an hour peak winds. Twillingate 142, and because of this, St. John's did have some delays at the airport, and we can understand why. And we have some snow this morning for the commute in Halifax. Nathan Coleman joining us, and Nathan, I can tell it's warm because you're not wearing a hat. All right, thanks so much, Nathan. We'll take you through what happens in the Maritimes today, and that snow is going to taper off in Halifax, change into some mixing, as Nathan mentioned, but not last too long. Cape Breton Island seeing some more snow, and then Newfoundland this afternoon gets into the snow and the strong winds, and then it clears out Thursday. A system is passing south of you, so staying away, and we do have possibly some cloud cover, Yarmouth towards Digby, but overall it's looking pretty good. And there's the snow that we're still seeing in Quebec City for the morning, but it's moved out of Montreal and Ottawa as well. Let's take you to this must-see video next. Of course, Montreal has had 41 days straight of temperatures not above the freezing mark, and it looks like for this morning, Montreal, we could be breaking that streak. We're around the freezing mark, so we'll have to get the exact data on what comes in today. We could be breaking it. Gatineau minus 4, Pembroke minus 6. We are seeing some calmer conditions today in Quebec, and this morning, Halifax, there's the mixing, 2 degrees. St. John's, on the other hand, minus 10, so much colder air in place there. The hours of freezing rain we calculated for you here. Toronto, 4 hours of freezing rain. Hundreds of thousands of people were without power last night in Ontario. Toronto Hydro in particular says 15,000 customers are still in the dark this morning. They're working on getting people restored. Northerly winds for you today, cooler temperatures into the afternoon, but just a bit of cloud cover. Overall, it is quiet.
500,000 Ontarians affected by this, and this tweet directly from Toronto Hydro.
Yeah, so they're saying the cause of the power outages are a result of Hydro One transmission issues, pole fires, and system issues due to weather. So we did see the freezing rain, and it was persistent for a few hours.
And the snow, of course. Let's take a look at how much. Now, Ottawa, 6 centimeters, 3 hours of freezing rain. Toronto, 5 centimeters of snow, but it was the 4 hours of freezing rain contributing to that. Hamilton also saw several hours of freezing rain. But this was another big story.
Pearson, +1 on Tuesday for the daytime high, and that means our streak has come to an end.
37 days there. there you are. So let's take a look at the next 7 days. It's going to get cold tonight into the overnight. Wind chills tomorrow morning in the -20s. So Thursday, Friday, can you get through Thursday, Friday? Because beginning this weekend, not only going to spring into daylight saving time, you're going to spring into temperatures more respectable.
More respectable, but still even seasonably cool. But we'll take it, Chris.
We'll take it. No whiteout conditions. How windy did it get? Well, you know, some of these islands off the northeast, like Fogo Island, Change Islands, Twillingate reported a gust of 142 kilometers per hour, but also St. John's peaked over 100 km.
That's right, and there were some delays and cancellations out of the airport yesterday. As of March 3rd, we do have the historical snowfalls here. So Charlottetown, this season we're sitting in the #3 spot. St. John's in the #2 spot, Chris. So we're wondering, do you want to get to the #1 spot in the east?
Do you want to somehow make this miserable winter, I guess, worthwhile, or is enough enough? Well, here's the deal. We've had snow falling through the overnight this morning. Most of this is pushing out into Newfoundland, so slippery drive, including around Halifax this morning. We'll be checking in with Nathan Coleman.
Right, so more snow on the way, but get on Twitter. We want to know if you want to break the record in the east. Through to Thursday, this pushes into Newfoundland, where we will see a little bit more snow. There are some winter storm watches in place for some strong winds today as well across the island. The southern Avalon, 10 to 15 centimeters of snow.
Well, here's some good news in the coming days, though. We're going to see a Pacific push and a pullout of polar air, warming temperatures.
All right, thanks so much, Nathan. Well, we take a look across the country, and today the story towards the west is high pressure through the prairies. It is cold this morning in Saskatoon, Regina, and Brandon with extreme cold warnings in place. But yeah, the active weather right across the U.S. towards the maritime provinces. Still seeing that snow. Halifax, you've picked up about 5 centimeters. Towards Gagetown, about 4 centimeters of snow. Yarmouth, 7, and it still keeps going. That will taper off as the morning goes on, as Nathan mentioned. And here we have an extreme cold warning for the northern Avalon Peninsula, and as well winter storm watches. And we're expecting about 15 centimeters of snow in the southern Avalon. I know there are also some power outages across the Avalon since last night. Those were due to equipment issues. Extreme cold warnings here, as you can see, through the prairie provinces. And these were the hours of freezing rain that we saw. Toronto, it just took 4 hours to cause the widespread power outages. And in fact, across southern Ontario, it was about 500,000 people in the dark. Let's check in right now with Rachel Schutzen, who has more updates on this power outage story. That's right, Rachel. 37 days in a row, Toronto was on the streak of not getting above the freezing mark. But we got above the freezing mark last night, so that streak has ended. But Montreal, you're still on the streak. You're 41 days not getting above zero. This morning, northerly winds coming in. We are going to see a bit of cloud cover with the system that's stateside. And there is still some flurries and snow in Quebec City this morning. But generally speaking, it's a quiet day. Thursday, a lot more sunshine. It's just that temperatures are still below average until we get into the weekend. Through this afternoon, this is the additional snow at under 2 centimeters for Yarmouth, but still some mixing and some slushy weather as temperatures rise each and every hour today. Halifax will see an additional 5 to 10. Cape Breton Island, same thing for you. Newfoundland gets a bit more, 10 to 15 centimeters in the southern Avalon, as you can see. So you're ready for spring. It is 16 days away. It's time to share your weather. Every day we pick a photo from online that someone has sent me on social media and then give them a personalized forecast. So today, Triple M at Mohammed sent me this photo, and he lives in Ontario. A beautiful shot of wishful thinking here. Spring is around the corner. It's about 16 days away. We'll have more on that in a moment. But this afternoon for you, we have sunny skies. 0 degrees is the daytime high, but northerly winds will be a bit brisk and temperatures are falling throughout the day. How can you get a personalized forecast? Send me your photo to @Nicole Karkic and then use the hashtag share your weather, and then we will get you up on TV. So that's my Twitter account. All right, let's look to see what the weather is shaping up like for this afternoon. We've got 2 degrees in Calgary, feeling like -1. Toronto will be feeling like -6. Ottawa, -6 for you. And we have some snow in the maritime provinces. Would love to see your photos of that stormy weather in the east as we head into Newfoundland as well. Early next week, here's how the pattern shapes up. We've got mild air pushing into the prairies. So today is extremely cold in Saskatchewan, Manitoba. That will change into early next week, but it'll still be cold in the east. And then mid to late late week. We've got mild air moving into northwestern Ontario. Now let's find out how winter fared in England. You might be surprised.
It's a party mix of weather. Thank you very much. Good advice there, Nathan Coleman. So the morning dicey, the afternoon will get perhaps a little calmer, but the temperatures will rise, so there could be a lot of slush out there.
Exactly. And I just asked people on Twitter in Charlottetown, in St. John, do you want to break the record? Do you want to at least just say, hey, we lived through the worst winter now on record?
That's right.
Answer me on Twitter. Okay. So still the snow moving through the Maritime provinces. It's going to move into Newfoundland as well, Chris.
Totally.
And you look at the timing here. By the afternoon, some winds picking up across the island of Newfoundland too. Yeah,
the Avalon. Note the warm front crosses you this evening, so your temperatures will be warmer this evening than this afternoon, so we could see that rain-snow mix. And then tomorrow calmer, but temperatures are going to fall through the day, so anything that gets slushy this afternoon could, of course, refreeze come tonight, and a couple of cold days in the forecast.
Exactly. Our must-see video takes you.
He's enjoying himself. By the way, Nicole, I love the red. It feels like you're charging into spring.
I am. It's gradually easing with my colors into spring. Quebec City snow is tapering off for you. Ontario looks to be pretty calm overall. And for the afternoon, some mixing for Halifax. So very slushy, very messy. But look at St. John's this morning, -10.
Very cold temperatures indeed. By the way, Quebec City, 9 centimeters of snow. Montreal, 6 centimeters in 3 hours. It was mainly freezing drizzle in Montreal, but Ottawa, Trenton, Toronto, Hamilton, Windsor all picked up. And Windsor also had 5 hours of freezing rain to coincide with the 5+ centimeters of snow.
All right, Rachel Schutzen joining us right now in Mississauga, Ontario, where she's talking about a lot of people losing power. Chris and I both lost power last night. Rachel, did you as well? That's right. And yesterday we broke our streak, Chris.
That's it.
+1 at Pearson after 37 days below zero. And I heard of a roof collapse yesterday in New Brunswick, Kent, New Brunswick, Kent County, New Brunswick, because of the weight of the snow. A barn collapsed. We had the curling center collapse, the roof in Halifax this winter, so it's an ongoing issue.
It is an ongoing issue. And thousands left without power in parts of southern Ontario, including Toronto this morning. The cold streak comes to an end. We'll talk about that in details of the spring outlook.
All right, and we take a look across the country where it's quiet across the prairies, but colder with extreme cold warnings in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And we're still seeing that active weather in the east. And Chris, we asked this question on Twitter. In St. John, New Brunswick, and Charlottetown, PEI, you were very close to being on the #1 spot for the most snow ever in a winter season. We're asking, do you want to break the record?
And this is really for everyone for you. And Denise Bridger, who's a world-class author of romance novels, incidentally. So she said, noses are red, fingers are blue. I'm tired of winter. How about you? She tags it here. I think people in the east are becoming brain numbed. Yes, Denise, I tend to agree.
Okay, so probably not wanting to break the record there. Extreme cold warnings, Northern Peninsula East. Winter storm watches up to 15 centimeters, and there's the extreme cold warnings in place in the prairies.
Yes, Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So no extreme cold this morning where Rachel shoots, then we find you. But how is it out there?
And Toronto, you had 4 hours of freezing rain. Using the Eucerin today, moisturizing with the dry air in place here. Anything in purple are coldest temperatures. Winnipeg -17, Regina -20. We've got Calgary at +2, and then over towards Halifax, you're 4 degrees. Toronto, still coming up on the program, we're talking about the extreme cold warnings in the prairies, including Saskatoon and Regina. Power outages across southern Ontario will tell you how much freezing rain you saw, and light snow continues in the east. Spring is 16 days away. Right now, our spring outlook. All right, we take you next to our top stories.
Yes, thank you, Nathan.
Thousands left without power. The cold streak comes to an end, and details of the spring outlook at 43 past the hour.
All right, well, we do have Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro talking about a power supply loss, and that has impacted most of the Avalon, even towards Clarenville and Gander, and as a result, a lot of the schools in the St. John's region delayed opening.
Right, and that is equipment issues, according to their tweets. We still have some snow moving through the Maritimes, headed towards Newfoundland this afternoon. Extreme cold warnings in the southern prairies, and for Ontario, a departing low, Chris, which of course left many people in the dark.
Certainly, and that's where the system is heading next into Newfoundland. So winter storm watch from Port aux Basques pretty much right down to the southern areas of the Avalon, the combination of 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. The wind will pick up, and there likely will be some mixing for the Avalon Peninsula as temperatures rise this evening, so it could get quite sloppy and slushy out there.
And Brandon to Regina and Saskatoon, northern Alberta, Alberta, all included in extreme cold warnings. The criteria is close to -40 with the wind chill.
Yes.
So that's what you're getting. In Ontario, impressive numbers here. 4 hours of freezing rain in Toronto plus 5 centimeters of snow. So get your car de-iced today because it's getting even colder as the day goes on, so it'll be even harder tonight if you don't go out.
Absolutely. Rachel Schutzen joining us right now. And Rachel, so you're not exactly, in the frigid conditions, but a little messy out there nonetheless.
That's right. Thanks so much, Rachel.
Yeah.
I felt that chill last night. We lost power. I know you lost power as well.
Indeed.
We asked people in eastern Canada, do you want to break a record? Because a lot of cities are closed off by a few centimeters to get to the #1 spot of the most snow ever.
Well, Denise Bridger from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia writes this one. Noses are red, fingers are blue. I'm tired of winter. How about you? I think so. Here's a look at some afternoon conditions there. So not bad in southern Ontario. Temperatures hovering around the 0 to -1, but it's going to get a lot colder tonight.
And a nice afternoon in Montreal with some sunshine. St. John's, you'll warm up to -2 for the daytime high. Today across the country, we've got some sunshine in place for Thursday. For Toronto, -16. Winnipeg, -23. Regina will be -18. And Calgary, -5. A good place to get away on Thursday, perhaps, is the Bahamas. We've got Nassau Thursday sitting at 30 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. Georgetown will be 26. Also lots of sunshine, so don't forget to bring the sunscreen to the Bahamas. Freeport will be 29. And Miami also looking good at 28 degrees. Safe travels. Good morning, Canada. Meteorologist Nicole Karkic with you across the country. Anything in the dark orange color are coldest clouds, so high clouds indicative of systems across the states. You can see a big trough moving through the area. The Maritime provinces seeing some snow. We've seen at least 5 centimeters in Halifax, Yarmouth 7 centimeters, and that's headed towards Newfoundland at this point. Ontario, the system has moved out of your area, but last night, quite a mess. So many people without power. Toronto had 4 hours of freezing rain. Windsor, 5 hours of freezing rain, and we also started off with some snow, so some ice coating on your cars today, as well as those snow packs. Let's check in with Rachel Schutzen right now, who's joining us in the Mississauga area. And Rachel, we have still, at last count, about 15,000 customers in Toronto without power. That's right. I had a tough time with my car this morning, and so with it getting even colder, it's going to be even longer and harder to clear off the ice. So do take care of it. Now, Toronto Hydro tweeted this last night. The cause of the power outages tonight are the result of Hydro One transmission issues, pole fires, and system issues due to weather. So, of course, we had the freezing rain and oftentimes the salt on the roads that they use to clear the snow and to help us clear the sidewalks can interact with the transmitters as well. Tuesday, Pearson got up to +1. So this is interesting because it broke our streak. We were on 37 days at Pearson without getting above the freezing mark, but yesterday we broke that streak officially. Happy to hear that. And as we head into tomorrow, it'll be cold at -8, -7 Friday. But then as we head into next week, and actually Sunday is when we change our clocks, daylight savings time, we are heading into some more mild weather, even seasonal, dare I say. But today, not so much. We're seeing some snow drifting through the area and some snow still for that morning commute in Quebec City. But notice how it's tapering off as the day goes on. And temperatures this afternoon actually quite mild here in Halifax. Once the snow clears out and you get up to 4 degrees, it'll be feeling pretty mild. St. John 3, St. John's, Newfoundland, will be seeing a high of -2 and still some persistent snow through the day. And really, Newfoundland seeing some of the worst weather today. That's right. Good point, Rachel. It took me a while actually this morning to scrape off my car, and that's when it wasn't even too cold yet. So as it gets colder through the day, if you're staying inside all day, maybe take the time to go out in the afternoon and chip off your car.
Bit of salt on the front steps, maybe some kitty litter, but please, fresh kitty litter. All right, so there's the Arctic high pressure. That's what's keeping the big chill in Saskatchewan and Manitoba right now. Cooling down northern Ontario. We'll do the same in the south, and keeping an eye on a storm in the east.
That's right. Our must-see video.
Centimeters of snow, 5 hours of freezing rain. That's what many of you saw. 6 in Ottawa and Montreal. Temperatures today in Montreal, 1 degree. That would likely break the streak that goes back to January 19th. And speaking of streaks, Nicole.
Yeah, that's right. Yesterday, we broke our streak of being below 0. We had 37 days of consecutive cold temperatures, but now we're on a trend where we're going to get even warmer, Chris, into next week. This is Daylight Savings Day on Sunday, so into next week, some sunshine.
Yeah, the next couple of days, though, going to be cold. All right, speaking of cold and temperature trends, let's take you to the prairies. So Brandon over towards Saskatoon, you're officially in the extreme cold warnings. Fort Mac and northwards as well. Pat Souls gave us a call from Winnipeg, says it's so cold cold out there. You can't even take your gloves off for a second. Well, Winnipeg, cold today, cold tomorrow, and then look at that.
A nice little warm-up heading into next week. And the trend for Calgary, well, you have got some warm air in the forecast for the rest of the week.
Yes.
Coming up, we'll have more details on what the weekend looks like across the country in your neighborhood and our spring outlook at 43.
Go to the...
First up, the Maritime provinces being hit by a storm. Through the afternoon, we're seeing an additional 2 centimeters in Yarmouth. Could get some mixing as well. And across New Brunswick, under 2 centimeters for you. Cape Breton Island, about 5 to 10 centimeters. It is windy, but not the windiest weather you've seen this winter so far. And Newfoundland getting hit with a little bit more snow than the Maritimes. As you can see, places like the Southern Avalon could see 10 to 15 centimeters. And some sea effect kicking up today for the western shores of Newfoundland with 10 to 15 centimeters on the way into your Thursday. For Atlantic Canada, we start off in the Maritime provinces. Some snow this morning. Into the afternoon, it'll be an additional under 2 centimeters for Yarmouth. You'll see some mixing. For Halifax, about 2 to 5 centimeters for you. But the bulk really is falling through that morning commute. By the afternoon, still some lingering flurries in Sydney. You'll be shoveling 5 to 10 centimeters today. Then in Newfoundland through the afternoon, we're going to pick up quite a bit of snow into Thursday. In the Southern Avalon, 10 to 15 centimeters. There are some winter storm watches as well for the potential of some strong winds across the island. No, not so much. And Rachel was describing how the ice is covering people's cars. A great picture from Ken Morris on Twitter. He's in Kitchener, and you can see the coating of ice and the texture of it.
Big time.
It's going to be chipping away, and if you don't do it today, by tonight, it's going to get much worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to show you the developing stories that we're following today. So thousands as a result of that storm left without power across many parts of southern and eastern Ontario. The cold streak comes to an end in Toronto and potentially in Montreal, and details of the spring outlook.
That's right, 43 past the hour.
Okay.
So across the prairies, Dan Clark actually just tweeted me. He's in Saskatoon. He says it feels like minus 43.
Yeah, very cold.
The hot spot in Saskatchewan right now is Maple Creek at minus 16. So when your hot spot is minus 16.
What does that tell you?
It's cold. Towards the east, Chris, we do have that system in the Maritime provinces.
Just want to show this jet stream here. This is the leading edge of the Pacific air, and that is going to go on a nice little road trip in the coming days. So we're going to see, you might say, a polar pullout and a Pacific push. So that's good news in the short term. But Ontario, that Pacific push doesn't come until the weekend.
No, it certainly doesn't, but it will be warmer in the west. In Newfoundland, we still have some winter storm watches in place for you, so about 15 centimeters on the way, some strong winds. And the hours of freezing rain, Chris, pretty impressive.
Yeah, from Windsor to Montreal, 3 to 5 hours, and then, of course, that followed the snow, the 5 centimeters. So very dicey conditions, and you heard Rachel say, yes, it's mild today, but temperatures will drop like a stone tonight. Northern Ontario will be waking up to wind chills in the minus 30s tomorrow morning. Yes.
But we are on a 41-day stretch of the city of Montreal not getting above the freezing mark.
That could end today. We have forecasts of 1 degree, snow showers tapering off in Quebec. It'll be a short-lived warm-up because the cold air is coming. And speaking of the cold air, this is ground zero of the cold right now. Fort Mac feeling like minus 44 this morning.
And Regina, minus 2 this afternoon without the wind chill.
Minus 20.
Sorry, minus 20. Wow, I don't know where that came from. Minus 20. That is very different. And as we look at this afternoon, we're going to wishful thinking for you. Minus 17, feeling like minus 26 in Winnipeg, and Lethbridge, you are plus 3. Today across the country, we've got some sunshine in place for Thursday. For Toronto, minus 16. Winnipeg, minus 23. Regina will be minus 18. And Calgary, minus 5. A good place to get away on Thursday, perhaps, is the Bahamas. We've got Nassau Thursday sitting at 30 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. Georgetown will be 26. Also lots of sunshine, so don't forget to bring the sunscreen to the Bahamas. Freeport will be 29. And Miami also looking good at 28 degrees. Safe travels. Good morning, Canada. Meteorologist Nicole Karkic with you. Cloud top showing us where we've got some active weather, showing the cool air across the prairies right here, with it feeling like the minus 40s in Saskatoon, Regina, and Brandon, Manitoba. And the system departing the Maritime provinces today, but we have already seen at least 5 centimeters of snow in Halifax. We've seen some snow in St. John. It's moving into Newfoundland. Last night, we had 4 hours of freezing rain in Toronto. That was after we picked up about a quick 5 centimeters of snow. That caused widespread power outages. Rachel Schutzen joining us right now. I know, Rachel, you didn't lose power, but I certainly did because the transformers were going just crazy in my neighborhood. That's right. So if you know a neighbor around the corner who has power, you might want to check into their place because it is going to be a frigid night. Temperatures are cooling down. Tuesday, we reached a high of +1 in Pearson, and this is interesting because we broke a streak. We were on 37 days at Pearson, not getting above the freezing mark, but yesterday we broke it, so not getting up to 38. We're in the number 3 spot now to beat. Let's see what next winter holds. Toronto, Thursday will be -8, Friday -7, so still below our average of 2 for this time of year. Look at the weekend, though. We warm up, and Sunday's actually daylight savings time, so we're going to see a change in the light and a change in the weather pattern into next week. Our must-see video takes us to Dieppe, New Brunswick, and this is awesome. A maze that someone created where the dogs are having a great time. They can go for hours through that, and you don't even have to take them for a walk. The kids, I'm sure, love it as well, and there's been enough snow to create things like mazes. Looking at what's going on in Ontario, there are a few scattered flurries around cottage country in Ontario, the snow tapering off in Quebec, so overall much quieter than yesterday. St. John, New Brunswick will be seeing a clearing trend as the day goes on. 3 for the high. Halifax getting up to 4 degrees. So yes, warm, but that means that everything's going to get very slushy and very messy. That has fallen this morning. This afternoon, St. John's -2, and that system does depart, but it will still be blustery into Thursday for Newfoundland, and there are winter storm watches in place this morning for the Avalon Peninsula towards the Burin, Bonavista as well. Across the prairies for Thursday, we do get some milder air moving into Alberta, and eventually that mild air does reach the Prairie provinces for the weekend, and especially into next week. While Thursday is nice in Ontario with some sunshine, Friday brings a weak little system that will impact the Nickel Belt with a few centimeters of snow, not very much. Then it sinks down to the Greater Toronto region for your Saturday. Overall, not too much, and it does miss Atlantic Canada this weekend. Coming up, more on your national forecast.
Howling winds across Newfoundland on Tuesday, giving way to snow returning on Wednesday.
And in the Maritime provinces, Nathan Coleman was in the messy weather in Halifax.
Rain. I've got my umbrella out with me. It's pouring down here.
Hours of freezing rain left thousands of customers in the dark in Ontario. Rachel Schutzen was on the scene.
Right now we're at Cloverdale Mall, and you can see the storefronts here, all of them completely dark as power is still not been restored.
While the site is beautiful, tourists are asked to stay away from Lake Michigan's ice caves because they're falling in.
And from icy caves to snowy maze, join us tomorrow morning as we all just try to navigate our way through the early days of March.